Now, what is the probabilistic reasoning? We just need to talk about first in detail about the probabilistic reasoning. So what is a probabilistic reasoning in an AI? It refers the use of a probability theory to model and to manage the uncertainty in the decision-making processes. And this approach is fundamental in creating the intelligent systems that can operate effectively in complex real-world environment where the information is often incomplete or the noisy. So probabilistic reasoning है क्या? To use a probability theory. हम probability when we are using a probability theory जिससे हम uncertainty manage कर सकें decision making processes में, right? जिसमें बहुत सारी situations हो सकती हैं, हर situation को analyze करना है और उसके basis पे outcome को analyze करना है. तो बहुत सारे सिचुएशंस हो सकते हैं, बहुत सारे सिनेरियोस हो सकते हैं. सो व्हाट इज probabilistic reasoning? It provides a mathematical framework for representing and manipulating uncertainty. Unlike here, the deterministic systems here, which operate under the assumptions of a complete and the exact information. So the deterministic system, basically the deterministic system operate under the assumptions of a complete and the exact information, where the complete and the exact information is available. But the probability में क्या होता है कि आपके पास complete information नहीं है, exact information नहीं है, बहुत सारे scenarios है, बहुत सारे situations है और उनके बीच में uncertainty है. So incomplete information है. So probabilistic system acknowledge that the real world is a product with uncertainties by employing the probabilities or the possibilities. So AI system can make the informed decisions even in the face of an ambiguity. जहाँ पर एक ही चीज के बहुत सारे मीनिंग निकल रहे हैं. So what is the need of a probabilistic reasoning? Why there is a need of a probabilistic reasoning? Because first here we are talking about machine learning. Machine learning, so what we are expecting from the machine, that the machine should learn from a past. The machine should learn from the various from the knowledge base. So it helps in machine learning. It helps the algorithm learn from the possibly incomplete or the noisy data. और heuristic search करेगा पर या कुछ ना कुछ help जो डेटा जितना भी डेटा अवेलेबल है उसमें से कुछ ना कुछ एल्गोरिथम लर्न करे जिससे इनकम्प्लीट और नॉइजी डेटा भी हमें proper outcome they सके. Then we are talking about the robotics. So it provides the robots the capabilities to act in and interact with dynamic when the data is changing very frequently in the uncertain environments also. Then we are talking about the natural language. It gives a computer an understanding of a human language in all its ambiguity and the sensitivity to context here. Then we are talking about decision making. It empowers the AI system for the well-informed decisions and judgment by considering the likelihood of alternative outcomes also. So the probabilistic reasoning can introduce the uncertainty, allow the AI system to sensibly operate in the real world by making effective predictions and make the effective predictions also. First here we are talking about the Bayesian network. Like here we are taking an example. Imagine a kind of a spider web clustered with the factors. Now here we are talking about the spider web clustered with the factors, like one might say a type of a detective board associating suspects, motives, and the evidence. Every possibility of a situation we are basically analyzing here. So Bayesian network we are talking about, one might say a type of a detective board associating suspects, motives, and the evidence also. And this is this in a nutshell we can say that is your basic intuition behind a Bayesian network, which is a graphical model representing or showing all kinds of relationships which are possible between the variables and their conditional probabilities also, in which condition this relationship will form. Right, so here we are talking about the Bayesian networks are very effective to express the cause and effect and reasoning about missing information. Why this information is missing? What will be the possibility of and how it can, what is the possibility of reasoning this information, what is the possibility of future situations by missing this information, or what will be the effect in future and how it will affect a particular AI system or its effectiveness. So the Bayesian network are very useful because they express the cause and effect and reasoning about the missing information. They have found wide applications in a medical diagnosis where symptoms are considered the variables which have a different grade of association with disease considering other variables also. So here we are talking about by when there is a number of symptoms are there which can have a number of by which the if the symptom is at this degree, the possibility of this disease is at this degree. So here basically if we use the Bayesian networks in a medical diagnosis where the systems or the symptoms we consider as a variables and which basically show the different kind of association or different grades of association with the disease, consider the other variables also. And now next we have talked about the Markov model. Now here we are talking about another example. Consider a weather forecast. अब यहाँ पर हम weather forecast की बात कर रहे हैं. कैसे weather forecast में Markov model work कर रहा है? Markov model predict the future state of a system from its current states and its past history. According to a simple Markov model, the probability that a sunny day will be followed by another sunny day. अगर आज sunny day तो कल भी sunny day हो सकता है is greater than the probability that a sunny day will be followed by a rainy day. Right? So here, what is the degree of a possible situation? Right? Advantage क्या है यहाँ पर? That it is very easy to implement. They are widely used in a speech recognition, and they can also be used for the predictions, depending upon the choice of a previous word, as in the probability of the next word. What will be the next word? Then we have talked about these are the different probability models here. Then we have talked about the hidden Markov models, which here we are taking again example of a weather predicting scenario that includes a state of some kind of weather, also include the invisible states such as the humidity also. So here about the hidden Markov models where the invisible states are also there, in which in weather we are talking about like a humidity parameter or a state is the invisible. So hidden Markov models are basically a generalization of a Markov models in which the states are hidden or in which the basically the detail is not shown, or only we are talking about the bottom to top approach. If these kind of a situation will be there, then this value will be there. So advantages here, the hidden Markov models are found to be very powerful in the cases where the hidden variables are taken into account. Such tasks usually involve stock market predictions, right? Where there is a number of hidden parameters or the factors are there, where the factors that govern the prices are not fully transparent. Then we are talking about the probabilistic graphical models, which is basically here we are talking about the hidden Markov model also, or the Bayesian network also, the combination of a hidden Markov model and the Bayesian networks. Probabilistic graphical models give a broader framework encompassing both the Bayesian network and the hidden Markov models. Or in general, we are talking about probabilistic graphical models are an approach for the representation and the reasoning framework of uncertain information. How? Because given in a graphical structure, because here we are talking about the Bayesian network and the hidden Markov model also. We are considering both. So what is the probabilistically graphical models? It offers a powerful, flexible, and expressive language for doing probabilistic reasoning, which is well suited for the complex relationships that may capture many different types of uncertainty here. And now, here we are not talking about that these techniques are mutually exclusive. Rather, they can be combined and extended. What techniques here we have talked about here? The Bayesian networks, the Markov model, the hidden Markov. So we are talking about all these techniques are not mutually exclusive. Rather, they can be combined and extended to handle the more specific problems in AI or a particular domain. Here we are talking about. For instance, at a particular situation, the particular technique that may be used will depend on the characters of the uncertainty and the type of a result that may be sought. In turn, the probabilistic reasoning that we are talking about in AI can allow AI system to make not just predictions but the quantifiable ones also. How many times this possibility can come, thus leading to more robust and the reliable decision making also. So what other techniques we are talking about here that we will talk about also in detail in the learning in the unit 4 also. So what are the techniques in the probabilistic reasoning that we are talking about? The inference. First we are talking about the inference or the Bayesian inference we will talk about here. The process of computing. What is the inference? The process of computing the probability distribution of a certain variables given the known values of the other variables. Exact inference methods include the variables elimination and the junction tree algorithm, while the approximate inference method include the Markov chain, Monte Carlo, and the Blues propagations. Now, what is the inference in the probabilistic reasoning? Or in simple language, how you will say that then we are talking about the learning also. Probabilistic uh, here we are talking about the, I hope my voice is coming to everyone. So what, in a simple language, we can say about the probabilistic reasoning inference or the inference is there, the process of calculating the probability of unknown variables. Here we are talking about calculating the probability of unknown variables or the event based on known variables using the principle here, the probability theory, is essentially allowing you to make informed guesses, right? We can have the informed guesses about what is likely to be true given the uncertain data. Here, the core mechanism here we are talking about the Bayesian theorems, right, or the Bayesian frameworks. So another technique in the probabilistic reasoning, we are talking about the learning, which involve the updating the parameters and the structure of a probabilistic model, which we had already used based on observed data, based on the change data. Techniques include the maximum likelihood of the estimation, how much this estimation can be there, and the Bayesian estimation and the expectations maximizations also. Then we are taking about the decision making, utilizing the probabilistic models to make the decisions that maximize the expected utility, right? So how we can utilize the probabilistic model to make the decision that can maximize the expected utility of that model. Techniques involved here, calculating the expecting rewards and selecting the actions accordingly, often implementing using the probabilistic models, right? So here we are talking about how probabilistic reasoning empowers the AI system, how it empowers the AI system. We have talked about that it quantifying the uncertainty, it reasoned with evidence, it based on the past experience. So it affect it can lead to effective decision making. तो how probabilistic reasoning empower the AI system, कैसे help करता है AI system को more effective way में work करने के लिए probabilistic reasoning. Suppose for a moment the maze in which you find yourself with nothing but an out of focus map. This kind of a traditional rule-based reasoning would grind you to the halt, unable to reason about the likelihood of a dead end or unclear way to go. Simply, so in a rule-based, आपको you will not be able to see the particular reason. So the probabilistic reasoning is like a powerful flashlight that can show the path ahead, even the circumstances of uncertainty. So how it empowers? First, it empowers the quantifying the uncertainty. सबसे पहले तो ये quantify करती है uncertainty में degree बताती है कि कितने chances हैं. So probabilistic reasoning does not shrink from the uncertainty. उसको ignore नहीं करती है. It turns to the tools of a probability theory to represent the uncertainty by attaching a degree of a likelihood. कि कब ये हो सकता है, कितनी possibility है इसके होने की. For example, instead of simple say whether it will be there or not, whether it will be rain tomorrow or not, but the probabilistic reasoning might assign a 60% chances or a 50% chances or a degree will be there that it's a chances that something or the 60% chances that it will be rain tomorrow according to a present data, according to a history of a data, right? Now, when it do the reasoning, it will be do the reasoning with the evidence. Like when we are talking about the the AI system cannot simply make a decisions in isolation. AI system cannot enjoy the luxury of making decisions in isolation. It should analyze the data, right? The data, they have to consider the available evidence and act accordingly to have to define the probabilities or the possibilities here we are seeing it. So AI system cannot simply take a decision. It should first do the analysis of a proper data, which it by which it is compulsory for AI system to consider all the available evidence also, which can act accordingly to help to define the possibilities. For example, again here we are talking about the probability for a rainy day can be defined to increase 80% if the dark clouds comes in the afternoon, right? It will give an evidence also. Then based on a past experience, अगर past में ऐसा हुआ है, अभी भी ऐसा हो सकता है, so the probability of with a new change can be more here. So AI system can learn from the AI past experience. The probabilistic reasoning factor or the degree basically depend on how frequently it hasn't happened in the past, right? So probabilistic reasoning factor in the prior knowledge of a nature of a decision. For example, here we are talking about an AI system that was trained in the past on historical weather data in your location might therefore consider the seasonal trends when calculating the probability of a rain for a today's scenario or for a particular instance. So at a particular situations, based on a past data, it can discover a new data based on a past experience, right? So by analyzing a past experience, by discovering a data from the past, and by giving the evidence for its reasoning, by quantifying the uncertainty first, by not ignoring the uncertainty, it can give you the effective decision or the effective information which you can use for decision making. So another thing or another technique here we are talking about effective decision making. Probability is also enable AI system to make effective and the well-informed decisions based on the quantifying uncertainty and the evidence and the prior knowledge also. According to our maze analogy, the AI would be able to actually weight the probability of different paths, giving the map at each point in the maze, and whatever it's found, it's weighed through and making it reaching the goal much more likely. So simply here we are talking about the probabilistic reasoning is not about achieving the perfections in the word, not whether a true or a false or a 0 or 1 or a binary language. Here we are talking about the probabilistic reasoning is not about achieving a perfection in a word full of uncertainty, but about realizing the limit of a perfect knowledge and working best with the informed available or the information available. And this enables the AI system to perform soundly in the realistic world full of the vagueness and where the information is in general not complete. Again, we are talking about here the applications, which we have already talked about. Now we will talk about the advantages of reasoning. Advantages of a probabilistic reasoning. The applications here we are talking about that We had already talked about the healthcare, already talked about the robotics and the natural language processes. What is the finance here? In the fraud detection, the risk of assets, right? The stock management, investment decisions can help in the investment decision. The probabilistic reasoning is used to model the market behavior, the assess the risk, and make the investment decisions. And here we use like Bayesian inferences and the Monte Carlo situations are commonly employed in the financial modeling also. Now, what are the advantages of a probabilistic reasoning? The flexibility, the robustness, the interpretative. Flexibility can handle a wide range of uncertainties, right? Because of a probability theory is based on the uncertainty only and are adaptable to various domains also. So here we are not just talking about the health sector, we are talking about the natural language process or the finance or the robots also. Another advantage of a probabilistic reasoning, we are talking about the robustness. These models are robust to noise and incomplete data, making them reliable in the real world application. Then we are talking about the interpretable. Probabilistic model provide a clear framework for understanding and quantifying the uncertainty, which can aid in transparency and explainability. So, what we have just talked about in the probabilistic reasoning. Probabilistic reasoning is one of the most important with the big data and is widely used dealing with the uncertainty of where the data or the volume of a data is present in a different formats with a different noise and the errors and the ambiguity with the built-in probabilities. AI system can navigate through complexity in the real world, right? Ultimately, improving the both